Map guides created by players can be different. They can be good or even excellent, but any guide is often one's personal experience and thoughts. However, there is an exception. This guide from one of our contributors nicknamed JMR. He creates them using an original method. Thousands of replays are processed, and the experience of the most effective players is aggregated. Positions and game techniques that ended in success or victory are analyzed. This is no longer personal opinion, but statistics. In this video, JMR, with the help of the World of Tanks team, presents an overview of the Studzianki map. So, this is Studzianki. Let's get the lay of the land. There are 5 key areas, a group of hills in sectors A, 5, and 6, 2 embankments near the bases, the factory with a railroad going through it, a ravine that splits the lower part of the map in 2, and a spread-out village. If a team takes a decisive advantage in any of these areas, they will probably win. That's why the battle outcome on Studzianki depends on good scouting, and the role of light tanks cannot be overemphasized. Light tanks are at home on this map. They can use any of their trademark playstyles. They can play as either active or passive scouts, but deal damage as well. Someone could just choose one of the bushes on the edge of the ravine and set up camp there waiting for the patrol duty achievement, while their teammates knock the hit points out of the enemy. Sometimes light tanks in their cozy nest can find themselves spotted. Then it's a good option to roll down into the ravine. Some light tanks will dash there right away. This is the area for those who prefer active scouting and drive back and forth, sticking their turrets out a bit to show targets to the allies and giving no peace to the nearest enemy bush dwellers. The light tanks that saw the ravine had been occupied already would either engage in combat or fall back. Their next position would often be the hills in the top part of the map. A nice view opens up from here, and you can cause a lot of damage from this position. However, you'll have to compete with medium tanks. Now let's look at the maneuvers of players who performed the best in their heavy tanks. Probably the best move at the beginning of the battle is to go here to the factory. By the way, you can clearly see from this chart that Studzianki is a symmetric map, almost mirror-like. The most popular position is near the embankment close to the railroad. From here, you can dish out tons of damage, especially if you face careless and impatient opponents. Also, this is the position to block a lot of damage with a mixture of skill and luck. If things go bad, you might be able to hold the superior enemy forces here almost on your own, but fire support from the Allied base could come in handy. From here, you can also help stop enemy breakthroughs on one of the flanks, because you have excellent shoot-throughs at the Allied half of the map. If your tank has both good armor and movement and you manage to get to the factory first, it makes sense to slip into the factory center. In this position, you will be able to fire at tanks moving along the top border of the map, at the thin sides of TDs and medium tanks. This position allows you to push the enemy heavy tanks in their half of the map. However, the enemy artillery will make its presence felt. The village area at the bottom of the map was less successful for heavy tanks. But why? It seems an area with buildings is the ideal place for heavy tanks, but there are no corridors that are familiar and convenient for low-mobility vehicles. From here, you can fire at almost any direction, but you can get hit as well. Opponents may come at you from unexpected directions. As a result, it's quite a tough spot for positional warfare. So, this is a position for the most experienced players with good reactions in more or less maneuverable vehicles. Very few players achieved outstanding results when playing in the hills in the top part of the map in sectors A5 and A6. The efficiency of these positions depends first on the goodwill of enemy tankers. Only their mistakes and carelessness will let you fire every time you reload. They just have to get adjusted to the map a bit and stop rolling out of the indestructible cover to keep you on the sidelines. Now let's see how the most successful TD drivers played this map. Their most preferable position was the knoll along the central field, right next to the Allied base. The plan of action is simple here. Choose a bush. Be ready to roll back at the first sign of being spotted, and after each shot as well. Wait for the target. At first, targets will appear right in front of you on the knoll on the opposite side of the map. It's important to take out enemy scouts that will be driving around the field or along the central ravine. Their task in battle is to highlight your particular position, and if they manage to do so, well, you'll return to the garage much faster than you expected. When choosing this position, keep in mind that the upper part of the knoll is exposed to fire from the hills behind the railroad. Be ready to repel the attacks from that direction. One more purely TD position is these two knolls above the river. They are quite close to the front line as well, so don't expect to be safe here. However, it's worth it. From here, you can shoot at a vast part of the map to the north from the railroad, including the mirrored enemy position. Also, you can fire at sectors A5 and A6, where the fastest enemy scouts can often be found. If your crew is well trained with concealment, you can carefully roll forward and fully aim your next shot. By the way, when sectors A5 and A6 are free from the enemy forces that can spot you, you can move there. From here, you can see the whole railway, a corner of the map, and passages between the factory buildings. As you can understand, this can contribute greatly to your victory. The position we just saw, the ISU-152, is also quite interesting, and you can use it to your advantage. At the start of the battle, your vehicle will be out of view range. This means the targets you shoot at won't be able to see you. And from here, you can shoot at the main factory corridor and the group of hills in sectors A5 and A6. Obviously, as soon as the enemy gets close enough, you will immediately have to search for cover on either side of the railway bank. And then it's all about luck. The enemy could either deal with you at once or leave you for later, or they might forget about you. Sometimes the TDs that can fight like heavy or medium tanks performed well in the areas suitable for those vehicle types. So here, or here. And now let's see how the skillful medium tank commanders play on Studzianki. Besides the already examined areas, these vehicles contributed massively to their team's victory if they went to the hills near the upper border of the map right at the start of the battle. Here you should obstruct the efforts of the fast enemy tanks. If you fail to do so, you not only won't be able to shoot, but you won't be able to even peek out to spot the enemy. This position will always be in the crosshairs, but then you can easily cause damage to the vehicles exposing themselves near the factory. If you have good allied scouts or your own good view range, you can deal with the TD nest. Also, you can fire at the tanks along the railway and behind it. Only a few record results for medium tanks were achieved in the ravine. First of all, it's because it's hard to reach it safely. Secondly, it's hard to survive there. The ravine is open to artillery fire, and you are almost constantly spotted even if there are no enemy vehicles in close proximity. However, the opportunities to strike enemies hard from there is excellent. Even better, you can spot the targets yourself, so you don't have to share the experience with anyone. Regarding the artillery, there's not much to say. SPGs on Studzianki take positions in the bushes as far as possible from the enemy base. They stick to the map border and wait for how the battle unfolds, doing their part the best they can. That's all about Studzianki for now. We hope you are ready to be victorious on this map. Good luck.